All right, guys. So, chapter 7 is going to teach you how you can customize your actual QuickBooks. Now, customizing QuickBooks, it's not too, I guess, exciting. There's only very few things that you can do when it comes to customizing your QuickBooks. But again, they try to appeal to everyone when it comes to being able to personalize or to create your company file. But as a individual standpoint, they want to try to be able to have you guys be flexible when it comes to customizing the actual file itself. Now, with that being said, there are two different types or different preferences that you guys can actually be able to do. And that is user preferences, which is whoever is using the current file can have their own preferences, as well as company preferences, which allows the file to be changed throughout whoever uses that file. So company preferences is going to be a global change, meaning, but the only person that can do that is indeed going to be the administration. So with that being said, now that admin only has control of the company preferences, we also want to be able to show you how to do your own personal preferences, okay? With these preferences, okay, so let's go ahead and get started with setting user preferences. So in this case, if you guys remember, when you're setting your own user preferences, there's only really one direction you can really go to, and that's going to be on the edit menu, and you're going to go to preferences. And any category that you choose, you will have a tab on the left side that's for my preferences. This is going to be the user preferences, and there is a slight difference between the two. So again, if you want to have every time that you open up the file, this is what you want to see. So there's a few things that you can customize. Not everything that you can customize is or can it be for the user preferences. So as you can see, there aren't any for accounting. There aren't any for billing. So there's only very few options that you have as an individual or a user preferences, okay? But most and majority of, actually all of these will have their own company preferences, okay? But we'll talk about company preferences after user preferences. So as far as what you want to see every time you open up your QuickBooks and you open up the company file, this is what you want to see on the desktop. So here, for example, in the book, it teaches you how to use the desktop view. So I'm going to pull it down real quick. So here, under my preferences, I have a few options on what I get to see when it comes to opening the file. So for example, the first one they teach you is having either one window appear or multiple windows. Now, as you can see, I already have multiple windows. Now, the advantage of having a multiple window is that you're able to open as many little transactions as possible. So as like, for example, right now I have the home page open and I have the preferences open, right? And I'd be able to open almost anything and everything if I have multi-window open. So I'll go ahead and show you an example of that. So again, I can have my bill tracker. I can have my income tracker, right? And the great thing about that is that you could click. So here's my income tracker, and I can adjust to what size I want to see it as. All right, let's say I want to shrink this. So here is my income tracker. While here on the right side, I can have my my bill tracker on the right side, and then in the very back I have my home page. Now, if you do prefer not to have multiple windows and just focus on one at a time, as far as productivity wise, I mean, you know, some people like to focus on one screen at a time, and sometimes, especially for accounting, we learned that when we were doing our fictitious business in class, you would be definitely struggling if you only had one screen at one time. So that's why they allow you to do either multi-use or actually they actually recommend you to use multi-window use. But if I were to just select one, okay, and say, okay, I can only see one at a time and I cannot resize it. I cannot, I cannot resize it, and I would have to personally either select another one and only one window can be looked at one time. So that could be a good advantage to you. That way you don't have to struggle with, having to resize or having to show multiple things at once. You can just go ahead and click it and it'd be full screen automatic. So here, my home page, here, my income tracker, my bill tracker, okay? And then if I wanted my calendar, it will only show one thing at a time, okay? So it could be to your advantage, it could be to your disadvantage, but for this particular feature, it's literally up to you whether you prefer to see multiple pages at once or whether you want to see one page at once. But in this case, I would actually prefer, and it's also recommended that you do have multi-windows for various reasons. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. Now, the second thing you want to do is every time, so the next section is every time that you open up your QuickBooks, because it automatically saves the last transaction before closing, what happens is that if you are on a computer that is used by multiple people, right? If you have shifts, let's say I'm day shift, the next person comes in and they're swing shift, right? And they're using your computer, or this computer is constantly having multiple users on them. This is going to be determining, like when you're working in your QuickBooks, every time the person opens up the company file on your desktop, what's going to happen? It's going to pop up the last transaction that you have incurred. Even though if you're granted specific access, it will show if they have something in common, it will show where the last transaction that you've done. And that's also going to be, well, in the book they said it's counterproductive. I mean, it's not hard to close the windows, but it's definitely you don't want to show other people what you've done. So with that being said, so you have the options is save when closing company. Okay, so save means it's going to save the last screen that you were using on. Now, if you are the only sole user for the computer or for the PC that you're working on your company file on, this one, yes, you want to make sure that every time you open up your company file that it does indeed open up that exact transaction that you left off on. But again, if you have multiple users, it's recommended that you select don't save when closing. So that means every time they open up QuickBooks, it's going to be for whatever generic setting that you have it for. So for example, I also want to have to show the home page every time I open up the company file. So that's what you can do. So I have it already selected. But if I don't, what's going to happen is you're just going to get that gray screen. Okay? So I have that. Now the next portion is going to be to switch to colored okay, Talia. So the next, I'm sorry. There you go. The next question or the next little feature that you can do is says you could switch to a colored icon or light background on the icon bar. Now I tested this. I have no idea what it really does. I have no idea, but it's actually not really effective as far as preference wise. So, whether you have it checked or not, it doesn't really make a true difference. Okay. Switching on a light every time you're on the icon bar, it's a very, very detailed thing, but it doesn't really make a difference when it comes to actually switching it on or off. Okay. So that's just doing a desktop view. Now the next the last section here is, well, what else you want to do. Okay, so for display, this is more of a computer setting. So for display, obviously it's going to be like what's the size of your screen, what quality do you want to do it, and if you were to click it, it's going to automatically go and access your computer, and it's going to have you set everything on the computer. So this is more of a preference that is more of a it's a more an IT preference here. Same thing with sound. Like right now I have my headphones on. So this is exactly, it's just telling you where you want the sound to come from. And you do have an option. It doesn't have to go through your actual sound system. You can turn it off. But in this case, this is another actual computer feature here. So these ones are more actual on your desktop settings. Okay. So then the last thing that you can do for your desktop view is going to be that you can change your color scheme. So right now I have it under as default. I can choose whatever color that makes me feel great. But in this case, these colors are not the only thing that you're actually changing is going to be just the title bars. So it's not like the whole thing is going to be in a nice colored scheme. The only change is, again, the title bar. So for example, if I want pink, okay? See, as you notice, it only changed the title bar. My icon bar is still blue. And every time I click on something, it's still highlighted in green. Okay, so no real true difference on there. So here I just click no to save the settings. So here it went back to default. So again, if I like yellow, it will change to yellow. If I think I like the purple blue, that's, to me, I like it, but it doesn't really make too much of a difference as far as customization. Everything else is purely, more accounting related, but this is what you can do when you want to customize the way your QuickBooks looks. So yes, since I'm the sole user of this, I prefer multi-window. I prefer to save my screen after the last transaction. I definitely want to show the home page, and I want it to be purple. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and click either OK or click OK to save my changes. So as you can see, I have multiple windows up, and I can just either close them out or however I want my screen to look. All right, so that is one user preferences. So again, you can also have it display a certain way if you'd like. When it comes to actually breaking down individual categories, okay? But that's the best you could do when it comes to actually changing something appearance-wise. Now, of course, you can also make it display for all the entire for the entire company file. So that means anybody that opens it, whether they're on the same computer or on a different computer, it's going to apply this feature amongst the entire company file. Now, with that, I mean, it's not, again, these company preferences actually truly make a difference when it comes to making changes. So these ones are more effective than the actual user preferences. So here I want to show you this one that is a key feature. All right, as you can see, the home page, right? Right now we have create sales receipt. We have also create invoices, statement charges, and create statements on my home page right now, right? Notice these icons are here. Now, what I can do here is if I utilize my company preferences to display what I wanted to see, so I can get rid of sales receipts, I can also get rid of statements. And if I were to click OK, okay, so now if the next time I open up my home page, it no longer displays my sales receipt or my statements. So here is the very first thing that you can customize, okay? So this is how you can customize the home page, all right? As you can see, I'm gonna show you another one for another example. So up here, as you can see this little inventory tracking. So so right now I have my inventory tracking as on. If I do that, then here I have my purchase orders, my receiving inventory, and receive against your purchase orders or inventory. If I go to company preferences and I go to inventory, let me see, items and inventory, and I go to company preferences. If I say I do not want to activate my inventory, let's say I don't sell any items, and I click OK, and I click OK, what's going to happen is my home page closed, and the minute I open it, my whole top part is gone. Why? Because I don't need to have it on there if I don't sell inventory, okay? Or if I don't keep track of inventory, I don't need inventory, then it makes my home page a lot cleaner and a lot more simpler. Now, of course, if you hide your icons on here, so for example, the statements that we've done here when we did display, you still have access to it if you go to your customers, and you can still create statements. So here is my customers, let me see, customers window, create statements. So I still have that as part of the feature. If I go to vendors, as you can see, it's limited because when you toggle your inventory, right? If you don't sell inventory, QuickBooks is not going to clutter your menu bar with it. All right, so that's a key factor when you're looking into customizing your home page, because at the same time you're also customizing your menu bar. But in this case, so I'm going to activate them all again so that I can have access to all of them. Okay, so the first one was inventory for company, so I'm going to activate that. And then I'm going to go back to my display. Okay, yes. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my display view. And I'm going to select that, yes, I do have sales receipt. And yes, I do have statements. And, okay. So I'm going to go click OK again. And again, now I'm back on my home page. And now my home page is full of icons. Okay. So there's only actually two ways to actually customize your home page. All right. So again, the first one is going to be the easy step interview, the initial interview, because You are answering questions to help you build your home page. Okay, so remember when we were asked, do you sell inventory, or do you keep track of inventory? If you selected yes, that is exactly why you have this little web graphic of your inventory, from purchases to receiving the inventory. And of course, after we've gone the easy step interview and you decide to change your mind, the only way that you can actually fix or change those settings is to go to the edit menu and go to preferences and make sure everything that you do is on the company preferences. Okay, so that's how you can customize the home page. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so I got to show you how to do user preferences, and I also got to show you how to use company preferences. And at the same time, if you're using company preferences, you are customizing the home page. Right? Sorry, was there any more other questions?
So would you rather recommend or suggest that we use the company preferences then, or it depends on the business
I mean,
also?
it really depends on the business. I mean, like I said, as far as company versus user, there's not much you can do on a user's profile, right? So, I mean, for me, all I did was change the title bar color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because, it could be, what do you call it? More sensible to the eyes, maybe a visually appealing, whatever you want to do, but that's as most that you can do when you're dealing on a user level profile. So it's not, I mean, recommended wise. I mean, like I said, it's a very minor, like personalizing. It's a very minor when it comes to between user and company. So I mean, recommendation would just be forget it and just use whatever the company wants you to use. Okay.
So we can customize those all icons
Uh,
on the homepage,
on the home page, yes, you can customize. Yes, you
all of
can.
them.
Yeah. Or at least majority of them. There are, of course, I believe in the book it says that the one icon you cannot take off your home page is going to be your enter bills, and I believe it's enter bills and accounts receivable you can't take off. So your invoices, entering invoices or creating invoices. Those are the only two transactions you cannot customize on your QuickBooks on
When you say
homepage.
customize, you mean to say you change it?
Yes, yes, you can. That's the only icon you absolutely cannot get rid of on your homepage. Every other icon you can. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
That's over.
Okay. So the next section here we have is to be editing the menu bar. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this maybe once or twice. The menu bar is pretty much a list of every single transaction that exists in QuickBooks. Okay? Therefore, these are set in stone. You cannot change anything on the menu bar. All right? So, for example, I go to my employees, I have all of these. You absolutely cannot change any of them, right? The only thing that you can, as far as changing wise, is if you activate something, or for example, when we customize the home page, right? When we activated the or when we deactivated the inventory section, then you pretty much are customizing your menu bar slightly, because if you remember, when we didn't have inventory, all these options shrunk apart when we looked at our vendor menu. But as far as customizing it, you cannot change the order of it. You cannot place it everywhere. You cannot change anything on the menu bar. But there is one thing that you can change when it comes to the menu bar, and that is the favorites menu. Okay? So as you can see, it's right here in between lists and your company. Now, if you don't actually have this appear on it, you can toggle it using your little view menu. So let's say I don't use my favorites menu, because what's the point of doing that when I can actually go to every single menu on the bar? But it's just typical for like other things that are not on the menu that you don't see. So again, here let's say I will use my favorites menu. So here you go. It pops between the view and the company profile. And then in order to edit the favorites, you just go to favorites and customize your favorites. And then you're going to get this window right here. So again, this is just pretty much a shortcut on what you can do as far as looking into simplifying or maybe facilitating, instead of having to click every single menu item and looking up the specific transaction, and or if you frequently use this transaction, you can customize it by placing it into your favorites. So for example, I believe they tell you to do chart of accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and add it in there. So there it is. That's what I want to see. Okay. I'm also going to, let's see, what else would I prefer to have when it comes to looking at my favorites menu. So a few things I notice is that you can put whatever you frequently use. But I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down and see if there's anything that I usually utilize when it comes to going through the menu bars and stuff. So with this, it actually gives it to you in order of every single menu list. So for example, here's company. These are all the lists or things that can happen on there. So I guess I can use the home page too. So I'll add that on there. Ooh, I also want to have a calendar. Okay. Any documentations? So let's see. Do I want to buy additional? No, I can just go that to here. Ask the accountant. Yes, that's going to be a good feature to use. All right. Reminders. Ooh, to-do list too. That's a good one. To-do list and reminders. So I just built my whole entire thing right here. Excuse me. But of course, as you build your list and you're seeing, well, I don't like this order right here, because the order that you place it in here is going to be what's going to appear on your favorites menu. If I want to move a certain icon to be either at the very top or at the very bottom, I can go ahead and select it. Now, I'm probably going to want to use my Ask Accountant, and I'm going to place it all the way at the top. Okay? Because that's going to definitely be something that I will, definitely need to do. Okay? If you're an inexperienced person using QuickBooks, asking the accountant is always good. All right. Other things is maybe I want my home page to be next, then my calendar should be next, and then my chart of accounts is fine here with your to-do list and reminders. So that's what I want on my favorites menu. And once I've established that and want it in the order that I want to see it, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, the next time we go to our favorites menu, here it is. The list goes all here, and you can customize more if you're starting to feel that you have other transactions that are necessary. Okay. Now, of course, I never paid for the Ask Accountant feature, so that's why it's grayed out. But if you do, again, for those who are not at a professional level right now, and your company allows you to seek professional advice instead of going to your actual accountant. So this is more for the actual accountant. Then yes, it will be there. But here you have the home page. Here you have the calendar, etc., etc. Exactly how I wanted it to appear. All right, and that's the only thing you can customize on the menu bar. So any questions in regards to this? In regards to the menu bar? Okay. So, yes?
So you can add more as long as you want
Yes.
on the favorite.
Maybe not as much as you want. I believe you are limited to, I guess, at the end of this list is how many transactions you can have. Because if you're going to make a whole list, I mean, might as well just utilize the menu bar itself. So this is more for like the minor shortcuts or things that you want easy access to. For example, your calendar. Then yes, yes. So you want to make sure that the list isn't like super long because it would defeat the purpose of having that when you can just go straight to your menu, straight to each menu list. Okay. So again, here's me reiterating it again. You cannot customize the menu bar. You can only customize the favorites menu. Okay? Okay? So the next thing I'm going to teach you guys is how to customize your icon bar. Okay? So as you can see, by default, QuickBooks will always have the icon bar left aligned. Now, there are a few options that you can do when it comes to either having the icon bar there. As you can see, it does take up a lot of space, especially on the actual QuickBooks page, right? These, again, the icon bar are meant for shortcuts to each transaction, all right? So, is it necessary to have an icon bar? Usually again, I will teach you what you can do with the icon bar, but this is, it could be a personal thing, personal preference, whether you like to have the icon bar viewed or not, appear or not. So there's other options too. Now, you can also have the icon bar at the top of the menu bar. Now, when it's at the top of the menu bar like this, right, you obviously clear up a lot of space. But I'm going to tell you this. What's the purpose of having a menu bar at the top of the window if you're going to have your menu bars at the top of your window too? Because here, the first thing I have is my company. I can go to company right here. So this is more of a room kind of thing, unless you customize your icon bar to have shortcuts. So for example, I have my bill tracker and my income tracker. Those things I don't have. I do have them in my I do have them in my lists, but I have to search for it. So right here, income tracker is under my customers. However, I rather have a quick access link so I can just click it. Boom. And, it's there. But, as a purpose-wise, I don't think it's beneficial for you to have your your icon bar right below your menu bar when you can access everything just as easy. Okay? unless, like I said, unless you customize your icons to appear to have different items on it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and also I'm gonna go ahead and view it back to the left side. Oops, I hit customize the icon bar. I want to view it and have it left aligned. Okay. Other things that you can do too is you can hide it as well. If you go to view and hide your menu bar or your icon bar, now it doesn't look, it looks like it doesn't exist. Again, and that's a feature that whether it's beneficial to you, whether you like to use it or not, I know a lot of people, they prefer not to use it because look, now I've expanded my workspace. It gives me a lot more room to be able to do more things. And of course, I have all access to every single transaction by utilizing either my home page or my menu bar. So having an icon bar, again, it's a personal preference whether you like to have it or not. Okay. And let's say I'm going to go ahead and unhide it and have it left aligned. Okay. Of course, you can search the icons that you, or the shortcut that you want to do. So for example, I want to go to, I don't know, checking. You'd be able to type it in here that I want to go to checking when I get there. When I type in checking here, so checking, if I type it in, it should be, I should be able to see it when I press enter. There you go, my checking. Oh, actually, no, this is looking at what you can do. Other features that you can also do here is, let me exit out of this, come on, exit. Other things that you can't do is you can hide it by using this little button right here. So there you go. I hide it and make it simple like that. That's another way you can hide your icon bar as well. And so you can utilize the extra space that you have for this. All right, so you can expand or hide however you'd like. Now, another thing that you can't do is if you go to view, you can also customize your icon bar. Okay, you can either get rid of the icons or you can actually add more other icons. So for example, they do say that, okay, so here I am at my customize my icon bar. You can customize by having spaces in between them. You can add, edit, or delete. So in this case, I'm going to add. And I'm going to add, I believe they say they want you to add a calculator. Here's a calculator. Okay. Once I've done that and I go ahead and click OK, so it's going to say, well, what do you want it to show up on your icon as? In this case, I'm going to actually say I want it to say actual calculator. I want to see it say calculator. In a description, everybody knows what a calculator is. They give you a little options on what kind of image you want to choose. I'm going to choose this little picture here just because this looks like a little calculator. And I'm going to click OK. Once I've done that, what's going to happen is now it appears on my icon bar. However, I still don't see it. Reason being is probably because you didn't adjust where it's supposed to be. So if I go to edit, okay, it now, actually cancel. So now here's the list of the things that you want to do. If you want to move it, okay, so right now my calculator is at the very bottom of my icon list. I don't want it at the very bottom of my list. I kind of want it at the top so I have easy access to it at all times. So what I'm going to do is there's that little diamond again. You're going to roll your mouse over it, and then when you get the cross sign with the arrows on it, that's where you can click and drag and place it anywhere. So in this case, I want it right under my home page is to appear to be my calculator. And of course, as you're doing it, you could see on my left panel, here's my calculator. All right. Other things that I don't usually use is a bank feed, or I don't need feedback, so I can delete that. Other things I have here are services. I don't need any services. And credit cards, reminders, reports. Yes, I would like to have it there. QuickBooks 2021. I don't need that. So delete. And bank feeds. I don't need my bank feeds. So I'm going to delete that. And as I keep deleting now, it's shrinking and it's making my list shorter. Okay, and you can flood this with I don't know how many icons you can have, but as you can see, there's a little scroll bar, so you can have a pretty much infinite amount of icons that you can have. But again, you don't want to flood this with too much stuff, because another way that you is a shortcut is obviously your home page. Your home page is the same essentially as your icon bar. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and here I customize my icon bar using that feature. Another way you could also customize it is you could just right click it and it will say customize. Right? So again, you can add anything, you can edit each one too. So for example, I want to edit my vendors if you want to. Whatever you want to do for it, you can. So yes, you can edit them saying I don't like this icon, or I don't like this, I want it to display something else. Whatever helps you understand this, or whatever makes it better for you to understand, or etc. etc. So of course I want my I'm going to move my calendar right under calculator. I'm probably going to move my company. I'm probably going to delete my company. If I were to, okay, so now I have all this. Yes, you can add a space in between if you feel comfortable to place a space between each item. So basically the space is very, very, very tiny as far as appearance-wise. The space isn't that much of a difference. I'm gonna click OK. And so as you can see, here you go. I customized it. Home page first, calculator, calendar, then income tracker, bill tracker. All right. So that's how you customize your icon bar. Any questions?
How about the color? You cannot customize the
No,
color.
absolutely not. Okay. The only one I can think of. Okay, so here. So let's go ahead and do that one preference, right? Where you want to do display view for my preferences. You want to switch to colored icons or light background on the top icon, right? If I were to click this and I click OK, right? So right now it is on left side view. If I were to view this and I were to have it at the top of the page, there you go. Now that's the only thing that you can do. You're only customizing the background color. Now instead of having it blue with the white icons, now they're actually colored icons. That's as far as you can do as far as customizing that. And like I said, it is actually very, very minuscule when it comes to personalizing your little thing here. But that's the only thing you can do. If you do it regular view, it will not change. It will just stay the same. So if I do view left and left, it will, this part will never change. Okay, so it's gonna stay white and stay with a blue background. Okay. So, yeah, that's as far as what you can do for customizing QuickBooks. So, as far as that, is there any other questions in regards to customizing the home page, menu bar, and icon bar?
No.
Like I said, it's very, very small changes that you can do. But again, it's personal preference. You think you like it better, you may do you do whatever it makes you feel productive, I guess, when it comes to QuickBooks. But in this case, it's you're better off, just going with the company preferences because of how small these user preferences can make a difference. Okay. All right. So let's see what the next thing is. So the next thing is we're going to start customizing our lists. Okay. So as we go in our book, we're going to talk about lists. Now, what are lists? It depends on which kind of category you're going to go for. All right. So here they give you a pretty much detailed of each list. So for example, you have your items list. Okay, so here we talk about your items list. Okay, so QuickBooks items. We talk about your price level list, your terms list. When we go into payroll, you're gonna have payroll tax item lists. When you have other things, so let's take a look at those lists. So if you go up here to the top and go to your list menu, here are the lists that you can activate. You have your chart of accounts, your item list, your fixed asset items, et cetera, et cetera. Price levels, sales tax, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about the first one, which is going to be our items list. Now, of course, we talked about customizing the chart of accounts, right? This is considered a list itself. And yes, you can customize this. We talked about it on yesterday. Now, another thing that you can do is, I'm sorry, not another thing, but we looked at our chart of accounts. It is very, very important that you set up your chart of accounts first before setting up your your items list. Okay? Because what the items list does is it basically takes your chart of accounts and it makes your transaction broken down to much more easier and detailed things. So for example, right, if I make a sale, right, instead of making a general assumption for a sale, you can break it down even further on the actual product you sell. So for example, for Academy Photography, right, you sell cameras, you sell lenses, you sell picture frames. So those are going to be considered items that connect to your chart of accounts, which is your sales account. Okay, so that's what it really does. It basically, your items list is just another expanded version of your chart of accounts, but this is primarily geared towards your sales or your revenues. Okay, as well as your inventory items. So if you guys done your reading, you know that there is exactly 10 different types of items. So here I'm in my items list. Okay. And every single item I have here is going to be broken down to whether it's an expense, a vendor. It could be broken down like that too. I have sales tax here. I have out of state, other things like that. So I'm going to teach you how to create an item, but I'm also going to talk about every single item that you can incur. So for the very first one they talk about is going to be service. Okay, so a service item, pretty straightforward, right? If you are a service provider, right, then you're going to be utilizing your service item. So every time you make a sale or you provide service to somebody, you're going to utilize this as part of your items that you're going to place into your sales receipt. And we'll talk all about entering in transactions next week, right? We're going to see how after building our items, we're going to see how that comes into play when we start entering our bills or even entering in invoices. Okay, but the first thing that we should do is consider what are the items I sell and what are the services I provide. So the first one's going to be service type item. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first one. So because we're a photography kind of service, right? Our service is that we do either photo sessions, whether they're hour long or whatever it is, right? So the first thing that the book tells you to do is let's create a service type item. So here you go. So let's go ahead and enter it in. So here you're on the items list. There are 3 ways that you can enter in a new item, right? The book tells you you're going to go down to item and you're going to click new. All right, and here's what how to create the item list window appears to look like, okay? Now, that's one way of doing it. Second way is you can just simply right click and click new. All right. If you are currently in the items list, you can go to edit and you can put in a new item. Okay. So your edit menu will change depending on which window you are in. Okay, you can't customize that, of course, but it will change it will give you a list of what you can do as far as transactions when you are currently on the page. Okay, so there you go. So truly there's actually only one way to do it, but you know what? I want to explore infinite ways. So right click and new. So now we get back to this page again, and this is how you fill it out. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by selecting what kind of item type I am creating. So in this case, the example says they want you to start off with a service. Okay. Now the couple things it's going to ask you is, well, what is going to be the item name? So what are you going to title this? In this case, I believe it tells you to enter in photo session. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the example here. So we're going to put the item name as a photo session. Okay, and as far as description, not really. This service is used in assemblies. Okay, so we don't need to select that. But here we're going to start filling in the rest of the information. Okay, so we want to go ahead and place the item name as a photo session. All right, and then now it's going to ask you, is it a sub-account, a sub-item, which is, again, if you have a photo session, you can also break it down to outdoor, indoor, commercial, professional, or if you want to, you could say, outdoor, indoor, professional. You could do candid photos, etc., right? You can break down it, and that's what a sub-item is. You're just breaking it down even further. In this case, no, I just have a photo session and that's it. All right. So again, description is whatever you'd like to place in here. Let me see, what did they say? Okay, it just says photo session service. Okay, and we plan to charge $95 for it, plus tax. There shouldn't be tax on services, so I don't know why they have that. But again, let's go ahead and fill our information in. So again, it's just a photo session service. Okay. The rate. So this is what you are planning to charge your customers for. Okay. So this rate, it could be adjusted every time you do your sales. Okay. So maybe want to use an expensive camera, or maybe this, if you when you break it down, maybe an outdoor session is going to be a little more expensive than an indoor because of the different lenses you need to have for the lighting and whatnot. So again, the standard rate for any general photo session is going to be priced at $95. Okay, and this is going to be $95 per hour. Okay, that's what a rate is. And usually services are based on time. So here I'm going to claim that it's going to be $95 an hour. And here, this is what I was talking about when you need to set up your chart of accounts before you can start setting up your items. So what account am I going to be using? Well, obviously it's going to be our revenue. So if I just type in revenue, I can see that I have all these income. This one uses income. So I have interest income, so obviously that's not it. So the thing that you can do is, if you don't know your own chart of accounts, which I mean you should if you're the company person. So in this case, I don't really know, but I'm just going to make a wild guess and say it's something about services. Here you go. Boom. Services. All right. Yes, I know it's in the book. I'm just telling you guys. But yes, we do have an account called services. Now, let's say you don't have an existing account and you are the admin, right? What you can do is, if you type it in, at the very top you have what's called an add/new. And what you can do is you can add in an account as you go, meaning that's how flexible this works for you. You don't need to have one in your chart of accounts, but you can create one if you need to as you're filling out another form. But in this case, I already have one, and it's services. Okay? And pretty much that's it. Okay, so then I go ahead and click OK. So here you go. That's where it does. It populates at the very top. It's going to be the first one that you set up. So every time I bill my customer, right, and I choose this as an item, I can charge them again for the photo session. And we'll talk about filling out the sales receipts or even the invoices in chapter 2. Okay, so there you go. I built my first service item. All right. So then the next one they're going to talk to you about is if you use subcontractor services. Now, of course, we'll talk about this when we go into chapter 9, when we talk about billable time. So this is just in case you do have the photo session, right? And you utilize somebody, like you have an independent contractor, or you have a third-party vendor to be the photographer. Yes, you can create an item that calculates not only your revenues, but it will also calculate the expenses as well. So in order to toggle this, right, when we go into our actual thing, okay, so I believe, let's see, did they create a new item? So this one, let's see, item name is video photographer. Okay, so that will be considered a service that we provide as well. Okay, so I will go ahead and create a new item since we're already here, and we'll talk about how this, by creating this item, how it affects when we need to start billing or paying our independent contractors. So again, that's in chapter 9. But here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what you can do, right? So service, right? We have a video photographer. Video photographer. Okay? And because if you want to have an independent contractor, or you use someone else and you want to have them charge them or record the expense for them, what's going to happen is you're going to click this is an assembly using an item assembly. So here, this is where you get to tie multiple accounts together in one transaction. Instead of recording the photo session or the video photographer and then billing your vendor later, this does it simultaneously. So that's the great thing about QuickBooks is it makes it easier for you to keep track of your revenues as well as your expenses all in one go. So again here, my cost for my expense, I believe is it $75? I usually, for this one, it's usually $75. Oh, no, it's 95, but because, oh, okay, this is a different one, right? So $95 is how much the vendor wants to get paid for. So here, expense account is going to be subcontractor expense. Subcontractor services. Okay, and do I have a preferred vendor? In this case, I believe it is Wong and Sun Video. Okay, those are going to be my independent contractors. And how I'm going to cost it at? Well, this is what I'm going to charge my customer is going to be $125. Yes, they still have tax, and this time, is it still services? Okay, so this is going to be a service charge. And again, it's going to be for service. Okay, so this is me tying two things at once. When I bill my customer, I'm billing them for $125. But at the same time, I'm going to give my vendor $95. And that's exactly what this LinkedIn for this item does. It allows you to keep track of your revenues as well as your expenses that you need in order to create your revenue. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And again, this will make a lot more sense when we move into, again, billable time. Right. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is going to be the next item, which is going to be a inventory part. Now they have two different ones. We have non-inventory and we have inventory. All right, now I'm going to tell you the difference. So since most of you all have accounting experience, the true difference between them is just like periodic and perpetual inventory. One of them, you're keeping track very often or constantly, right? Perpetual. Periodic, you have the inventory, but you don't keep track of it. That's the same difference here in QuickBooks, except it's called inventory part and non-inventory part. So the inventory part is your perpetual inventory. Your non-inventory part is your periodic inventory. Okay? Now again, yes, both of them, you are going to, You are going to make purchases for them just like regular. They're both going to go into inventory. That's the difference here. They're both going to go into inventory. The only difference is every time you sell an item, they'll keep calculating for it. However, the one that you're going to be often adjusting or often checking up is going to be your inventory part, where the non-inventory part, you only check it every once in a while. But it will update it as long as you do the proper journal transactions, right? If you're making purchase of it, if you're selling it, it's going to keep track for you. However, the only difference is, are you going to physically take an inventory count every day or every once in a while? That's the only difference here that they do here in QuickBooks. All right. And when we move on to accounting, or for those who've been in accounting, we don't keep track of it at all when it comes to periodic inventory. All right. So that's what it is, an inventory part and an inventory non-inventory part, excuse me. So that's just pretty much the difference between them. Now again, we will build our inventory parts in chapter 8. Okay, so I'm not going to teach you this today. I'm going to show it to you later. But I do want to make sure that you recognize the difference between creating an inventory part and creating a non-inventory part. Okay. Now the next thing we have here is other charges items. So again, you have the ability to charge your customers, whether it's you charge them for a premium, they forget to pay, so you need to charge them a fee, and that's what you're going to use here for other charges. But I'm not going to teach you that one because it's pretty straightforward, standard wise. You enter in a new item, you name it, you find the account that it belongs to, and that's pretty much it. Setting up an item is pretty straightforward. All right. Other things that we have here are group items, okay? So what's the difference between a regular item and a group item? Now, group items, okay, so let me go ahead and click new. Okay, so we talked about inventory, non-inventory, other charges, subtotal. Okay, so group items. Group items is when you want to sell a bundle package. So selling multiple items at once. All right, so for example, I do sell in photo photography. I do sell a bundle package where if you get a hour session, you could also get a picture frame with the picture that you want to choose from this photo session. So that's our bundle package. Now the only difference between here is you're just only grouping them together. Whatever price that you set for your original item, they're just going to combine it. So when we go into invoicing and starting to set up and charge our customers for the bundle package, you can manually override the actual pricing of the package, because obviously when you get bundles or when you get deals, it's supposed to be lower than the actual items by themselves. So that's what you can do here. But when you set an item, so you have to create the inventory or non-inventory item first, and then when you use your group items, then you pull those two items together and you make a bundle item. Okay, so again, I do show this to you in the sales, in sales, so in chapter 2 or chapter 3. Okay. Of course, with subtotals, you can create a subtotal account, which is basically, it just gives you a grand total of all your purchases. This is going to be needed when you provide discounts, right? Because you not when you do discounts, right? You want to make sure you apply the discount on the overall purchases. So that's what this item is for. It's to help you tally up your total amount in your sales receipt. Okay, and we'll talk about what a sales receipt is. But when you're charging your customers, right, when you're billing them, you need a subtotal if you're planning to give them a discount on anything. So whether it's a store discount, whether it's a personal, you gave them terms, whatever discount reason it is, that's where you're going to have your subtotal to tally up your total amount of sales. And then your discount item is where you're going to charge your discount. Now, what you're going to be able to learn is that because you can manipulate the amount of, you can manipulate the price or the price levels. You can go ahead and manipulate it as well by just calculating the discount in there. Now, of course, with this sales discount, this helps you again make it easier to have your transactions a little more clear instead of discounting it and not displaying or showing the discount. That's what this item is for, because you will have an account called sales discount. All right, and that's what you're going to utilize that one for. Payment, okay, so if they do advance payments, this is what this is used for here. And then sales tax items and sales tax group. Now, the difference between the sales tax item and a sales tax group is that, of course, because we are living in the state of Nevada right now, you can be charged multiple taxes, okay? If you actually go to the actual, I forgot what website it was called, but it gives you a description of your actual state taxes, and then your county that you belong to also can charge an additional sales tax. So for example, I'll give you an example. I used to live in California. I was living in the border between LA County and Orange County, right? The only difference that I had to do was literally drive across one street, and I was already in LA County, and driving on the other side of the street is going to be Orange County. So I lived on the very edge of LA County. So when I went to the mall, I got charged a higher percentage when I shopped in the LA County. And then when I went one street across at the same exact store, I got charged a lower sales tax because I was shopping in Orange County. Now the difference was 1%. And if you guys all know, 1% of tax is a lot of money, okay, depending on what I bought. And in this case, I bought an iPhone. I paid so much more taxes because I went across the street to buy something. All right, so you want to be careful as well as this. Now, because we live in Nevada, I believe the tax for Nevada is 4.6%. And because we're living in Summerlin County, we live in Clark County, I believe they charge you an additional 1.355. I have to double confirm that, but we're going to also do that today. Okay, so now with that being said, it doesn't matter what state that you belong into, they're going to charge you a tax. Now, the only difference is what county you belong into. So again, Clark County tax is going to be different than Henderson tax. It's going to be different than Reno taxes. Okay? So it just depends on what county you belong to. And also city as well. Okay? So with that being said, when we are creating a sales tax item, one thing that you need to know is the difference between a sales tax item and a sales group item is basically who are you paying? Okay, what agency are you paying to that you're collecting the sales tax for? So if you are using only one agency, or you're only paying one agency, you only need to use the sales tax item and be able to charge at one rate. Now, if you have multiple agencies that you're paying for, so for example, State of Nevada, I'm going to pay State of Nevada. Clark County, I'm gonna pay at the local Clark County place, right? Agency. So if you have two different agencies that you're paying or making payments to, that's where a sales tax group is going to come into play. Now I'm going to show you the difference right now. So if you guys can come along with me, I'm going to build my first tax item right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go to sales tax item. And I'm going to say that this is going to be for the Nevada state. Okay. And can someone go ahead and look that up for me? I feel like I remember it's 4.6% for the state of Nevada.
I'm sorry, I don't have my phone.
Right? We can make up numbers too, but I believe for the state of Nevada, they charge 4.6%, if I'm not mistaken. I believe
The,
that's still there.
the new sales tax for 2020 is 6.85%.
6.85? Wow. 6.8. Wow, for the state of Nevada. Wow, it raised. Okay, so the state of Nevada is going to charge me a rate of 6.85%. All right. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. That should be right. And tax agency. So in this one, we already have one on here, but you know, you're going to have to figure out what agency that you pay for this one. In this case, it's going to be the state of equalization. State board.
Lynn, question.
Yes.
Will it differs from city to city?
This is, well, right now we're doing state first, and then we'll go into city. And then with the next one, we're going to do city.
All right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because here it says a range 6.85 to 8.375.
Yes, that's going to be the total. The 8.375 is going to be the total.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, for this example, I'm going to separate the two because I'm going to make an assumption that I pay Nevada state taxes and I pay my local Clark County taxes as separate entities. All right, and that's how I'm going to show you how to use the sales tax group.
The tax for Nevada is 4.6 sales tax.
Oh, that's what I thought so too, but it's okay. We don't have to go into logistics. I'll just go ahead and say it's 6.85%. Is that right?
Yes, 6.85 is Nevada state tax as of 2020.
As of 2020. Okay, so it's risen.
Right, because like you said, there's sales tax and then there's the, I guess, the county city tax. Okay, so the tax for Nevada is 6.85.
Okay, so Nevada state tax is 6.85%. All right, and this is only assuming that I pay different agencies. So, but in this case, I don't have another agency. So here, I'm gonna say, okay. Now that I have it here, if I were to charge just Nevada state taxes, then it's going to be 6.85%. Okay, minus 6.85%. So then now I'm going to go ahead and create my Clark County sales tax. Okay, so new sales tax item, and this time it's going to be for Clark County.
And that is 8.375%.
Okay, that's the total, including the the Nevada state tax. Clark.
Nope.
Y-
It says effective January 1st, the Clark County sales and use tax will increase to 8.375.
Yes. Now,
That's what I'm just reading. So
yeah.
that's okay.
Okay, so when we're dealing with Nevada and county, you add them together. And that's why the sales tax, if you are in Clark County, is 8.375%. Because that's the grand total that you're paying to the state and your local. Okay? So, so I see I see this. So when you break it down, so 4.6 should be correct for the state. So in this case, because you're just talking about just the state of Nevada, I'm talking about the state of Nevada and Clark County. So I'll show you in a second. Okay. So here the Clark County description again is pretty much sales tax. Okay. So the sales tax percentage. Okay. If I were to, so I have to go fix the other one. So let me see. 8.3775. Is it 8.3775 or 8.375?
375.
Minus 4.6 is 3. So here, this one's going to be 3.775%, and it's going to be the state of equalization. Okay, so I have my state to be 3.775, and I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to go ahead and fix my Nevada state taxes. Where is it? Nevada state taxes. I'm going to change this to 4.6%. All right, that should be what it should be for now. Okay, now that I have Nevada state and I have Clark County, now I'm going to go ahead and create a new sales tax item, and this is going to be a sales tax group. All right, and then in the description, I'm going to go ahead and say Nevada, so NVCC sales tax. Okay, so this is what I'm going to charge for Nevada and Clark County sales tax. So now it's going to ask me, well, what item am I going to enter in here? And this is what I was talking about. You need to create the item first before you can create your group item. So in this case, I'm going to apply my Nevada in here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and apply my Clark County. Okay, so here I see that 4.6% plus my 3.775% gives me a grand total of 8.375%. And this is exactly what I was, this is what you look up, and this is exactly true because you need to pay a section to the state and a section to the local agency. So this is how you charge your sales tax as a group. Okay, because yes, so if you go anywhere here, they're going to charge you 8.375% because we live in Clark County. Okay, now it's not like you just belong to Clark County and you're going to pay them 8.375. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to pay both state and the city that you belong into. So in this case, here I've created my new Clark County, Nevada state tax, sales tax. And here it is for 8.375%. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So now I have 3 items. If we do one where you don't need to charge the state the county tax for, then you're good to go. But it's for anybody that makes purchases. So for example, what if someone in Reno decides to call me up and say, hey, since you're a friend of a friend, can you do a photo session? You have to charge them based on Reno. You cannot charge them based on Clark County. All right, and that's true if you do an out of state. So here we have an out of state tax. So if you go to California, you need to pay whatever percentage they are in their state and their city. So you're going to have to do a lot of things, especially if you do out of state or anything like that, okay? So that is true, especially for this kind of, this type of business, okay? So make sure that you understand wherever that they're purchasing the items from is what you're going to charge tax for, okay? So there you go. Now we have a Nevada Clark County state tax. Great. And let's see what else I have left. I think for now that is it. So right now it is close to 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna call a break here, and then we're gonna continue the next section afterwards. We're gonna talk about the other lists that you can add in here.